Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am really excited to share with you my guest, Jewel Hohman. And Jewel is a gem for sure. She is the connection expert with a degree in psychology and pending master's in social work. She is combining evidence-based self-help and the latest friendship research to help women build friendships that nourish them. In the post-pandemic world where millions are lonelier and more disconnected than ever, this conversation is urgent and often ignored. And she is on a mission to help 10,000 or more people create true, authentic belonging within themselves and connect to others in a more meaningful way. So I hope you will enjoy this as much as I know I am going to enjoy this conversation about how to navigate the great friendship crisis. Please join me in welcoming Jewel Hohman.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about this with you, especially. I know I asked you before we hopped on, obviously this is for leaders, and you were saying these people are entrepreneurs. They are motivated, strong women, achievers in their careers. And I love that you were bringing this conversation to them. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm just really excited to be here. So thank you.
Awesome. We always start out with a really easy question first, and that is, where do you call home? Where do you live?
So right now I'm right outside of Flint, but normally I live closer to Detroit. Here in Michigan, I like to call it America's High Five, but nobody calls it that. Just me.
Flint. I do know where Flint is. Actually, have been in Flint before.
Oh, wow. That's
I know.
wow.
It was for business, but it's still, I was there.
Yeah, nobody comes here. That's amazing.
I know. So, the reason I wanted to have this conversation is that, especially post-pandemic, people were lonely before, but the pandemic really just gave people time to recognize that this is a thing, that they were so busy being busy that they didn't have time to realize that their friendships, their personal lives were taking second place to their work life, and it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't fun for them anymore. And so I think that what you're doing is really important, at least to bring to light that things that you can do to maybe get back to the important things in life, and those are the people all around us. So how do you build the right tribe of connections and friends to reach your full potential?
Yeah, wow. I'm really glad that you mentioned as well that even before the pandemic, we were lonely. The number of friends has decreased, across all age ranges, across the sexes, the number of friends that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And we are lonelier. Most of us are really craving that meaningful connection, despite being connected to so many people on Facebook or whatever it may be. So I really appreciate you saying that to start. How we build the quote unquote like right tribe, I think one to start by saying it's not something that we can go and like almost check off our list, if you will. And I treated it like that way in the beginning when I started learning about friendship science. And it is not that way. Friendship is, this beautiful living, of course, relationship, but it's always ever flowing. And I think that's also what makes friendship so special. So how we build the right tribe, how we go with that ebb and flow, if you will, I think one thing to really start with for a lot of people, just because of the world that we are currently in, with how lonely we are, with how much we are craving connection, is to prioritize it again, to fit it into our lives, our schedules. And I know somebody's hearing that and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, but I'm already so busy. And I hear you. That was part of the reason why I started learning about this myself. And what I want to offer, like you said, connection is, when people get towards the end of their lives, it's one of the like biggest like deathbed conversations is their relationships, their people. And, there's a lot of like structural and societal changes that we need to make connection easier for everybody. But I think right now to start, we need to prioritize it, value it, and almost give ourselves, just like how you would when you are achieving something or going for a goal, like when you are spending time with your friends, when you are making that routine to see them regularly, to connect with them, even if it's just like a friendship snack, if you will, and you call a friend, to really be proud of that as well, and be proud that you are investing in your fulfillment and in the way you experience your life, because so much of that is done through relationships. So that's what I would say to start. I think to build the right tribe, a lot of when I hear that question, I hear, how do I, make like the best fit friends for me? And I think again, that's ever flowing. I really want to emphasize, because I get this a lot. People will be like, oh, but I'm in different life phases, or, I'm really focused on my career. And, my friend is a stay-at-home mom, and, we don't have things in common. And I really want to say, if in that situation, finding the right friends, it doesn't necessarily mean commonality. I think there's certain like want matches we have for friends of, oh, we both enjoy running, or we both are entrepreneurs and we can talk about business, and that's really fulfilling for both of us. I think there's certain cravings we might have for that kind of commonality friend. However, friendship is really based on vulnerability and consistency and meaningful moments. It's really based on connection. And that has nothing, honestly, to do with commonalities or life phases. So, how we build the right friends, I think, is looking for emotionally mature people. I think really goes hand in hand, where you can have vulnerability, uh, connective conversations, where you can talk about what you want out of the friendship, at least for the majority of my clients. It's not true for everybody. We have different friends for different things, but a lot of them really, especially most of my clients are women, care about having those emotional bonds with somebody. And I think
Yeah.
looking for people that are emotionally mature is really helpful for that.
I kind of want to stay there for a little bit because I think what you said about the commonality and and it kind of goes back to what I talked about, having that perfect relationship and perfect um friend type of thing. And the interesting thing is that it just happens naturally if you let it. And when we talk about taking time, well, it just in your normal day, uh, I have had friends who are much older than me who I found truly intriguing and interesting to hear about their lives and their the different things that they went through, and it was a strong relationship. You started to care about them just in their stories. And the same thing with, maybe I'm a working mom and there's a stay-at-home mom, but it's like you both cook and you both clean and
Mhm.
you have things that you would have in common, but unless you start the conversation, allow yourself to get to know that person, you'll never find out those things. I think too that, when we always maybe think what we have to have an agenda, but no, I don't think you do. Join a Toastmasters group where
Mhm.
it's a wide expanse of people and ethnicities and jobs and everything, cultures, and yet you still find things in common in the sense that you all are trying to improve your life, your communication abilities. And those friends that I've had for like 30 years because, again, of that group that we became part of. So I just say, stop making it so hard and just allow yourself to go out, volunteer, do things that put you in the position to meet your potential new best friend.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much about what you just said that I love so, so much. I think what happens for a lot of people, myself included, is when I was doing this journey and I was looking for friends, if you will, I almost kind of like how you would when you are dating.
Mhm.
I looked and I was like, okay, they have to be, really
Tall, dark, and
emotional, but then
handsome.
yeah. Right, right. So I was doing that with friends almost, and that's not really what creates a connection anyway. I could be in a room with somebody who is just like me and not feel connected to them. I
Yeah.
love so much of what you said about hearing their stories, because one of my favorite examples is I had a client who decided she wanted to start her business. Um, and like leave her 9 to 5 job. That was her goal. And then her best friend had kids, and her goal was to, have be a stay-at-home mom and to have kids. And there were so many thoughts of, oh, we are not the same anymore. We don't, she can't understand, this entrepreneurship. And what I want to offer is that you would be surprised if you are looking for that togetherness and hearing their stories. Like you said, I think I've never heard it said that way. I really appreciate it, because hearing those stories, if you are juggling, right? Like bookkeeping, scheduling, stuff like that. This
Yeah.
new mom is also juggling daycare, cleaning, and so on. You both can relate to juggling. And this client, she realized, oh, my friend, by becoming a mom, is changing her identity, and so am I. We actually have something huge in common that I would have missed if I didn't look for
Yeah.
how to connect and hear that person's stories and to see that person. They connected so much. I got goosebumps talking about it. They connected so much just by, oh, our identities and how we are changing. This is uncomfortable, right? There's, a lot of change going on. This is big. This is exciting. They connected so deeply on that. And if you will, they were in
Mhm.
completely different life phases.
So good. But in addition to all of the feeling and all those things, there is science backed evidence about this. So talk to us a little bit of why connecting is better with some people than others.
Hmm. So, and this kind of goes to what you said
Hmm.
previously about seeing other people and hearing their stories, but we connect with some people over others. Honestly, truly, so much of it is how we think and relate to ourselves or our own emotions or different parts of ourselves, and then how we
Hmm.
relate to other people. So much of it is about that. And what I like to say to clients is, at the end of the day, what connection really is And this is from Shasta Nelson. She is a like friendship researcher. She's done like a lot of the work um, around this for everybody, so to benefit. But she says that connection is feeling safe and seen in a satisfying way.
Oh, nice.
And one of my favorite ways to access that safe and seen in those feelings is to look for how are we in this together. But so often we don't connect with people because we're looking for, oh, how are we different? How are we separate? You know, I, for me, myself, and I know I can really say that I was so used to taking things personally and so used to having a lower opinion of myself that and not feeling confident that I just assumed other people would feel that same way about me also.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of different barriers for it's a case by case basis for what gets in our way for a lot of other people. Um, it could be like something that's really common is to think, oh, I've been hurt in relationships before. And so now I'm going to think of other people as, oh, they're just selfish. They don't really
Yeah,
care. They're out for themselves. So there's common blocks that we have
right.
to connect with people. And it's can just be really helpful just in general, just to notice what like yours are, you know?
And the next question I had was talk about to think about your circle and leveraging that to help you have a better life. And it just reminded me of so oftentimes I've been fortunate to have mentors in my life that became friends. And
Mm.
I think it's because as the mentor, they listened more than they talked. And so they got to know me more. And as they got to know me more, then they opened up and were vulnerable in their conversations and their stories with me. And in the long run, when it came to promote, they knew me well enough to know that they could push me to do something that I didn't think I was ready for, but they believed that I could do it. And their belief in me allowed me to do it. And
Yeah.
so I think when I, talk to you about that question of leveraging your circle to manifest a better life, that's the story that I think. But what are some stories that you have from people that you've helped?
Yes, it's so funny. I was just talking to a client, coaching a client before hopping on here. And that was actually one of the things that we were talking about. So it's so funny about how actually it was her, like how she has viewed other people in her life in believing them and viewing them in a higher light, and how she's like, I'm so blown away at how much more connected I feel to them and how much more they connected they feel to me. That is such a small shift that you can do in any conversation with
Yeah.
anybody. But how we create that and look for that for ourselves is through, I really think, and nobody loves this answer, but through some trial and error. Definitely nobody loves that answer, but I do want to say, you know, the research shows that female friendships, even though we are more emotionally deep, even though we will, like men typically will make friends in high school and keep those same friends forever and not make any new ones. That's
So
typical.
true. So true. Although, they can change that out there, audience. You can change
Yeah.
that. My husband is an example, but so true. Go ahead.
We're women, we will make new friends all throughout our
Constant.
lives. Yeah. So but part of the reason why female friendships are more fragile, and like just to summarize it, is there's some like relational regression or aggression there. And so I do want to say one thing that is so helpful is if you think a friend is jealous, or this is a huge thing I talk about a lot, or if you are jealous of another friend, we are kind of taught as women that that emotion's not okay, whereas men, they kind of expect it. They expect that level of competition, and so it really doesn't get to them as much.
Hmm.
And so I think for women, one thing that we can do is to talk about it, and this goes for jealousy or any other emotion, but to reach out to people that are in our lives and to say, hey, like, I'm feeling this way, this is about me, and like, I can see you and your emotions as well. And that goes for both sides, whether you feel like a friend is jealous or not.
Yeah.
That is huge, is in leveraging those conversations. I bring this up first, or leveraging our circle. I bring this up first because so many of us are surrounded by amazing people and we aren't noticing it. It just started storming here. Is that distracting?
No, not at all.
Okay.
You're good.
I was like, what? Um, but so many of us are already surrounded by amazing people or people that bring out things in us that we really love. Like, I used to think I needed absolutely to be surrounded by people that were really, really motivated in their careers. And I have a couple friends that aren't, but they teach me to laugh harder. They teach me to enjoy. They teach me to slow down. And so I really want to encourage everybody to look for like the value that you get from the people already in your life. And that being said, one thing that I did on my friendship journey, I'm so sorry. Is that too loud? It'll be relaxing, but just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you. So I just want to start by saying that, but when it comes to leveraging our circle, and I did this for myself when I realized how really lonely I was and how my friendships have shifted, and when I really started learning about all of this, I was like, okay, what am I really looking for? Like, what is most important for me in a friend? And for me, I wanted to be friends with people that were motivated in their careers and were very emotionally intelligent, and I could have like very philosophical conversations with.
Nice.
And so part of that is just looking for that in your circle already, because you'd be surprised what kind of new levels of vulnerability you
Yeah.
can reach with people. Um, I'm so sorry. I might need.
So why don't
I
we ask another question too?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So what if you have a friend, and I think everybody out there probably can say, I can think of somebody that their friendship is holding you back. You know, we always say, I always talk about something that Darren Hardy always told us was only invite people to your table who you want at your table. And that really is to say that if you're trying to stay positive and motivated, having somebody that's a Debbie Downer or a negative person is not going to be good for you in your life, in your career, and anything. So maybe you need to disassociate yourself with them. So let's talk about that. How do you release that person that could have been your friend from childhood, but you changed and they didn't?
Yeah, I love this because it's such a case by case basis. I'm such an advocate for let's be really vulnerable with our friends and talk about our relationship with our friends. We do that in our partnerships all the time. And that's part of what makes our partnerships so intimate. But we doing that in our friendships can be so helpful. And I cannot advocate for that enough. And I'm so glad you said this because somebody out there is hearing that and they do need to get out of the friendship that is holding them back, right? They absolutely do need that. And I don't want them to use that advice, if you will, against them. So when it comes to friends that are holding us back, there's a couple ways we can approach it. One, we can prioritize other people. And honestly, some of that is just changing habits. We don't realize we have friendship habits, but we absolutely do. And so even if you have a friend, if you will, that is holding you back, we can.
You're good.
I'm so sorry. I'm not used to this, but even if you have a friend that is holding back, one thing that you can do is to prioritize some people, prioritize them less, and change your habits around it. And you might notice with this friend that it's comfortable to go to them, right? You've been friends for a long time. It's comfortable to confide in them when something's going on in your life, even though you don't really want to invest in that relationship as much. And so one thing I would recommend is just to notice what your friendship habits are with this person and to start to shift them. Sometimes that's the route people want to go. Like, I encourage everybody here to be confident in themselves and to trust their gut and how they want to handle friendships, the relationship. But another route you can go sometimes is just to communicate and say, hey, look, like, we had a beautiful chapter that will always be really important to me. And I loved that. I loved that our friendship, gave each other throughout, maybe it was since elementary school, middle school, but I really just want to be upfront with you and, just honestly have that breakup conversation that's really difficult. It's really hard, but it's so much better to have that, if you will, breakup conversation than to just stop talking to that person.
Yeah, ghost.
Yeah.
Don't do that. There's so much more that we could talk about, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so that we can get your contact information for everyone. And so if you're just listening, you know the drill. You should go grab a paper and pencil so you can get this information. But it is on my Vicki Noethling's YouTube, so please subscribe, as well as the findyourleadershipconfidence.com. Her website is the connectionwithjewel.com, as well as the Instagram is Connection with Jewel. I'm going to let Jewel tell you what you can find if you go to the website, what resources and she has there, as well as how you can connect and schedule an appointment, as well as things that she does on Instagram that you might want to check out from time to time. Jewel, it's all yours.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. On my website, we just put up a resource that we use for the largest women's conference in Michigan. They loved it. Now we're bringing it to everybody. So there are 2 resources that you can find if you, choose to hang out with me longer and sign up for my email list. There's how to belong at any event. So how to create more of those feelings of belongings when you are at events. And then we have how to make a friend at an event. So not how to just go and like meet somebody, which is still amazing and feel comfortable doing that, but how to meet somebody at an event and turn them into a friendship. I really go into depth about the science of that and like tips and that you can actively apply, like tactily. That's not the right word, but tips that you can apply. So that is what you can find on my website. I also share a bunch of stuff about connection, all things connection on social media. I talk a lot about overthinking and feeling comfortable in social settings, and I talk a lot about feeling lit up by your friendships rather than, oh, this is something that's on my list to do. I really want to unshore friendship. So if those are things that you are interested in, I would love for you to come hang out with me. And let me know too, like what resonated with you from this podcast, what stuck out to you, and if there are any questions that you have. I am all ears.
Awesome. Jewel, thank you so much for being here today and talking about friendships. Definitely we'll have to do this another time to get kind of go a little bit deeper. And, I think it's just something that people just try so hard and they just will shy away from making friends, and they just go to work all day and never try to connect with people. And I think that some of my good friends that I've had for years and years I met from work. So I don't think that it's like, no, I can't be friends with people from work. But also, look for those other occasions where you can volunteer and where you can join associations and networking groups. All those expand your horizons. That maybe you did it because you wanted to help your career, but you might end up getting your best friend out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And regardless, because most of the time when we're lonely for meaningful connection. And there are things we can do to increase that, to have more of those friendships and relationships. But community is also so important. So I
Yeah.
love what you said about that. And you never know where it might take you. You really never know. I think that's one part that's so fun about connecting and jumping into new communities. So thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah, if you think about it, you mentioned the fact that some of your friends are from school, like my best friend, who was my maid of honor, who now 40 years later we still visit, we still see each other. And that was just a chance meeting at school where we took the opportunity to say hi. And look
I
what
love
happens
that.
after that. Again, I just think don't work so hard at it. Just allow yourself to be you, and people will be attracted to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you are one of those people that are like, oh my gosh, but I am so busy. I don't know how I'm going to fit this in. I really don't want you to add like friendship as like a task on your to-do
Task.
list. But yeah, I really don't. I do think it's really helpful to build in routines, to join associations, to join clubs and things like that. However, one thing that I really want you to take away from this episode that is so energizing and fueling is to look for how you are already connected, to think about the moments of connection that you have throughout the day. That was one thing that was really helpful for me personally and for a lot of my clients is, oh, how did I connect with people today? And to look for that. What that does is that creates that feeling of connection in your body. And then you feel good, you feel
Yeah.
energized, and you're so much more likely to reach out, to call up a friend. And it doesn't have to be a task that you wrote like on your planner. It's you're feeling connected, you're thinking connected thoughts, and then you're reaching out and connecting with more people.
Awesome. Well, as always, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. And I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.